Indeed, good afternoon. Welcome. This is the Farm Kenya show. My name is Peter Wakaba, and today we are going to be taking you through something really quite interesting. Of course, join us here where the fields are our canvas and agriculture is our passion. We plow into a critical frontier, and that is, well, gender mainstreaming in agriculture, from the seed to the market stall. Discover how gender equality is sowing seeds of change right across Kenya's farms as we uncover empowering tales, innovative practices, and the future of farming through an inclusive lens. Because here at Farm Kenya, every voice, every seed, and indeed every single event counts. To help us discuss this topic, well, we have with us here in studio Monica Nyaga from Pelham, as well as Ruth Mukiri from SACDEP. We'll be getting into that and what those acronyms mean a bit later on as we get to know them a bit better on the show. But first, let's take a look at today's edition of Agri News. Well, let's get into it. Now, we start off with a story here where women in Laikipia County have registered a new beginning after embracing poultry farming following training on how to improve production and get empowered economically. Now, the women have also learned the art of constructing environmentally friendly jikos, which are also used to warm their brooders. Clement Masombo has that story.
Women practicing poultry farming in Laikipia County have a reason to smile after they were trained on how to construct environmentally friendly cooking stoves, which are also used as chicken brooders. The program, which targets women, aims to empower them economically, changing the norms of women relying on men for upkeep. For Purity Ntarangwi from Umande Ward in Laikipia East, her fortune came when she started using this traditional brooder, which they have christened Chebkube.
Hii moto huwa inanisaidia sana juu wakati sikuwa na hii moto nilikuwa na shida. Sasa wakati nilijenga hii moto nilijengea na watu wa Girugiru wakakuja wakatuonyesha tukajenga. Sasa kutoka hapo nikaweka kuku ya kwanza nilianzia na 30.
Purity, like many other women in her locality, has embraced poultry farming fully. She says she had a challenge of brooding chicks previously, but that has since ended thanks to Chebkube. The brooder has a capacity of 200 chicks at a go.
Unajua tulikuwa tunategemea wase, unamtegemea. Ukitaka kiberiti unaomba shilingi 5, ukitaka shumbi unaendea shilingi 20. Lakini saa hii hatuitishi. Huwa tunanunua, unauza mayai, unanunua.
Other than earning from poultry, the women have also learned the art of constructing cooking stoves, which they earn from. Putting up one such stove costs about 5,000 shillings.
Ukitaka kuwa na hii jiko Chebkube, tunaitanga Chebkube. Unakuanga na mlangeti, mawe ya mburoko 5, unakuwa na bito, hii mabito mabiti, alafu unakuwa na shagalawe, wheelbarrow 2.
So what we did is we trained them, and I'll give an example for Umande, where women had actually an outcry that they were not able to do proper savings, they were not able to run their groups properly, hence they could not even run within the implementation of the value chains that were being done.
Non-governmental organizations like the Food and Agriculture Organization, in partnership with the county governments, have also been training the women from rural areas on financial literacy. The program is currently being implemented in 6 counties across the nation.
This project endears to empower women, not only just in production, increasing production and incomes, but also to enable them to have a voice.
So success story number 1 is about the climate smart technologies like the Chebkube. Chebkube is a technology that is used for brooding chicken. This technology came from West Pokot. It has been imported to Laikipia, and farmers are making not only increasing the number of poultry, but also they are making income from it. Those who are training others, they are earning. They make about 4,000 to 5,000 Kenya shillings.
The women are excited about it. When you go to the counties, there's singing, there's dancing. Today we were in a meeting as we were doing closing, and the women were dancing and celebrating. I think they're celebrating the fact that they can be heard. There is nothing as important as having their voice and having their decision making as part of what is considered by the county.
Clement Masombo, KTN News, Laikipia County.
Well, of course, the inclusivity there of women in decision making, one of the things that we want to delve into later on in the show. Now, moving on, coffee farmers under the Montira Coffee Cooperative organization have elected new management officials after ejecting the previous management over what they termed as poor payment of the cherry dues. Now, the farmers held the elections 2 months after they stormed the society offices to protest after getting a payment of just over 100 shillings, of getting 80 shillings compared to other societies which registered about 100 shillings. Now, Kirinyaga County CEC in charge of cooperatives, that is Calbert Njeru, who supervised the elections, said that farmers wanted a paradigm shift in the management of their society. Now, Njeru called upon the newly elected officials to work towards restoring farmers' earnings. The farmers, on the other hand, expressed optimism that the new management will work towards ensuring they get more money in their pockets.
Declared that today there will be an election in Montira Farmers Cooperative Society, and as it was announced, we gave a notice, and true to those words, there are elections that are going on today. My team in the departments of cooperatives is in taking charge of that, and we've tried as much as we can to do according to the law, and therefore we are hoping that by the end of the day, because the elections are still going on, that we shall have a wonderful and free and fair elections, and the best candidates that the farmers want will definitely win.
Shia wa kwamba nimefurahi siku ya leo, ile mandevu nilikuwa nimesema sitanyoa tayari iko chini, na nataka kushukuru watu wa Mtito kwa hiyo kazi mzuri wamefanya. Ningetaka walime ili hiyo pesa tunasema iwe ipite 100 kwenda mpaka 150, vile tumehakikishiwa na mwanakamati wetu ende atufanyie hivyo. Kulikuwa na wisi kwa sababu ndora zetu zilikuwa zinabadilishwa kwa njia isiyo mzuri. Ametuhakikishia ya kwamba atafungua ndora account. Kwa hivyo kahawa yetu ikiuzwa na ndora hatutapewa shilingi. Ni hizo ndora zifanywe kuwa pesa na sisi.
Tulikuwa na wakora walikuwa wanakula pesa zetu. Waende. Sisi tunataka mambo mpya. Si ndio maendeleo. Batuletee pesa ni maina. Sisi tuko raja na huyu tu, hatuna mwingine.
Nashukuru zaidi kwa sababu leo imekuwa uamuzi wa wakulima. Wakulima wamesema ni maina alam. Tunataka kupigania ukulima ukuwe na pesa, ndio tukuwe na maendeleo.
Well, I remember some campaign slogan which had said "Pesa mfukoni," as those farmers right there are saying. Now, farmers from Migori County have been urged to collect fertilizer from the National Cereals and Produce Board (NCPB) stores. During a press briefing on his tour of Migori County, Samuel Kagwa, the national chairperson of the National Cereals and Produce Board (NCPB), expressed concern that over 4,000 bags of fertilizer remain uncollected despite multiple appeals to farmers. Mr. Ragwa attributed the low turnout and uptake to a lack of information reaching farmers and fears of fake fertilizers. He also advised them to store their farm produce at NCPB stores. Esther Chageri, Western Kenya Regional Manager at NCPB, echoed these sentiments, noting that there was no maize in stores.
And we have noted that the consumption of fertilizer is not very high. Reason being that the messages have not reached. And maybe the farmers are still feeling that the fertilizer we are having is still having the same kind of problems. But we want to assure Kenyans that the fertilizer which we have in our depots is safe and is good for farming. This season we want to prepare earlier. We don't want to have the same similar problem we had last season. So wakulima wote tungewahimiza they come on time and take their fertilizer. You redeem your messages so that at least we can plant on time, and so that we can become a food secure country. Na kwa hivyo here in Migori, we have over 4,000 bags here. There are other centers outside there which also have fertilizer. And there is no reason why somebody from Migori actually should plant his crops without fertilizer. We also want to emphasize that there are other things which happens in SCPB. It's not just sale of fertilizer. We have seen in Migori, what people are not bringing their maize here. I think the maize you normally grow is just for home consumption. But time has come when you should benefit from the government. However, if you are a farmer, make sure that your maize has dried very well. Make sure that when you come here and you are told about bagging and it will put in good bags, just be subjected to that and all will be well. The issue of paying, we are paying, but the price as of now, as of today, it is still 4K.
So currently, I can confidently say that we do not have any maize, but once we have maybe a farmer, a client, or a customer who wishes maybe to have his or her maize stored here, that is something that we can handle.
Well, interesting developments there in Migori. On to commodity prices today, where on today's segment, we are going to take a look at the price of green grams and pishori rice in different markets across the country. Take a look.
Wapwani mpo? Kilifi na Kwale tumewasili. Sasa unaweza burudika na Star Times DTT kila maeneo ya miji ya Kilifi na Kwale. Wasiliana na customer care kwa nambari 0719 077 077 hivi leo. Upate taarifa zaidi pa kununua DTT Star Times Decoder. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
I make my Tuesday count by reading the Financial Standard. It helps me make much better and smarter financial decisions.
Setting the standard every day of the week. The Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper.
Nilikutengenezea kitu.
From different worlds, come a trio with a shared destiny.
Nikulinde na ikuongoze.
Where will the fashion runway take them?
Mimi nitachunga maua yetu vizuri sana hadi wewe narudi.
Family business is everything.
The Beauty and the Beats. Shanga, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. on Maisha Magic Plus.
A twisted story of revenge that will steal your heart. A daughter will bear the punishments for the sins of her mother.
Vengeance is soon going to be mine. Their lives will be ruined, and a daughter will bear the punishment.
This is not a love story. It is a story of hearts broken by revenge.
So what?
Broken faith.
Only on KTN Home.
Wapwani mpo, Kilifi na Kwale tumewasili. Sasa unaweza burudika na StarTimes DTT kila maeneo ya miji ya Kilifi na Kwale. Wasiliana na customer care kwa nambari 0719 077 077 hivi leo. Upate taarifa zaidi pa kununua DTT StarTimes decoder. StarTimes, enjoy digital life.
Pamoja na tukue pamoja kuimarisha Kenya, ni jukumu la Farm Kenya.
Well, indeed, thank you very much for staying with us here on Farm Kenya. As promised before we went on that break, we have our panel session this side of the interview, and of course to remind you that we are talking about gender mainstreaming in agriculture, of course involving women in the decision-making aspects across the entire food systems value chain, and of course helping the benefits of that percolate throughout that. And to introduce my panel, well, we have first off Ruth Mukiri, who is the principal of the College of Sustainable Agriculture for Eastern Africa, where she leads a dedicated team that is committed to advancing sustainable agriculture practices. The college is a project of Sustainable Agriculture Community Development Program, or SACDEP, which is an indigenous development organization that has been empowering communities in Kenya and East Africa to be in charge of their food sovereignty and wealth creation for sustainable livelihoods over the last 30 years. We also have with us Monica Nyaga, a proven leader and innovator of effective gender and youth inclusion initiative programs, in development programs that promote men's, women's, and youth effective participation in gender equality and social inclusion in agroecology. Now, sustainable agriculture markets and value chains, agroforestry, water, and climate change. Monica is keen on integrating and mainstreaming gender in climate adaptation initiatives and inclusion in management of natural resources. Quite a CV, ladies. Welcome to Farm Kenya.
Thank you.
I want to start off with you and so to say sort of start very briefly about what we can understand by the inclusion of women when we talk about gender mainstreaming in agriculture.
All right. Thank you very much, Wakava, for being here. It's quite a pleasure
Yes.
to be here and to talk about a subject that is close and dear. Because without gender mainstreaming, it means we are losing it. At some point, we are losing it. We need to be intentional and very inclusive about anything and everything that we do. And seeing that agriculture and rural development go hand in hand, then we better include women, youth, and men into the whole equation. So gender mainstreaming is quite a subject that, as an organization in SACDEP, we are quite clear on and very intentional, and also intentional on the question of inclusivity. So we look at it from the perspective of where do we want to go. The only way to go is to assure food security and agro-income security. Without involving men, women, the youth, we are lost.
But why is it important? Why should we look at this as an important issue? Hasn't this been happening all along?
It is quite, I would put it as quite a quagmire. Because regardless of the amounts of monies and funds that have been put into agriculture and everything else, and development for that matter, we still find inequalities. We are looking at women being the ones who are the what? Who are
the
at the
backbone
forefront
of the agriculture sector.
But when it comes to policy and inclusion, we find that they are not quite there yet. I mean, we still have to fight for it, and I put fight in quotes.
Yes.
We still have to push for it. So why don't we just come out to be very intentional and very clear-cut that without involving women and youth especially, the equation of inclusivity, the equation of mainstreaming, the equation of indeed being food secure and income secure is somehow lost. Yes.
I want to bring in Monica, and from the point of view that we've talked quite a bit about the youth, we've talked about women, we've talked about bringing young people into agriculture. With the current state of affairs, do you think this is still possible? And if not, what do we need to change?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I work with PELAM Kenya. PELAM is Participatory Ecological Land Use Management, where we work with organizations in Kenya and which are focusing to work with small-scale farmers to promote agroecology practices, which are going to ensure food security and bring everyone on board. Thank you for your question. Young people, if we look at the average age of a farmer in Kenya, when you look some statistics, maybe back in 2018, it was 70 years and above. Now we are moving down, at least now it's 45. But is the youth age at 45? No. So we still don't have many young people in agriculture or in the agriculture value chain. But why don't you have young people there? It's because there are some barriers and there are issues which make agriculture not attractive to young people, but you're moving away from that. And what PELAM is doing to ensure we have young people in agriculture, we are really creating awareness about opportunities in the whole agriculture value system. We talk about from farm to fork, where we have people who are doing farming, we have the logistics, we have the agriculture value chains, we have the value addition, you know, we have the export, the contract farming, and also we have the technology. All these areas, young people can engage there. But what is making them not be there is because one thing, one barrier is land. How many young people can access? They have land, you know, who owns this land, you know. And also when it comes to leasing land, what's their cost? Do they have that amount of money, you know? And also when you look at the farmers, sometimes you feel like, you know, farming is a lot of work, it's not cool, so many things happening there. But I'm happy, especially like this program that we have here, it's really encouraging young people to engage in agriculture, and they're really doing well. So I think with the current state of affairs, where the youth unemployment has really gone high, but we still need to eat. We still, the whole agriculture value chain, there's so many opportunities for the young people. We can still engage. And I'm happy in PELAM, we have youth-specific projects which are supporting young people to engage in agriculture. I hope if you don't mind, I can just share one. We have a project called SAMI. SAMI is promoting sustainable agriculture and marketing value chain through youth exchange. It's an interesting project where we have young people from Kenya and Zimbabwe exchanging on sustainable agriculture and market value chain. We have young people from Zimbabwe coming to Kenya to train our farmers, and at the same time, young people going to Zimbabwe. And because of that, it's really encouraging young people to engage in agriculture, to find agriculture, the opportunities there, and at the same time young people are understanding the opportunities which are within the value chain, where they can make money, they can promote to food security, they can take care of their land, their soil, and also overall agriculture is promoting development, and they need to be part of it.
Let's talk about the different aspects of the value chain that you've talked about, because I've seen on social media people in Nairobi, even in the low-cost areas, doing what they call chips muito, frying chips on the street. That is still in the agriculture value chain, and many other initiatives, including the people you see around walking around selling peanuts and that sort of thing, because someone has to cook them, someone has to package them and that sort of thing. What sort of initiatives are in place to start to enable and empower these kinds of small businesses, because they can then help people get into these value chains at different levels?
It's interesting you've talked about chips muito. Yes, that's value addition for the potatoes, and along the way it's also value addition for the oil. And so some of the initiatives that have been put in place is to encourage, to create the capacity of young people to understand they can add value to they can add value to this product.
Yes.
For example, the chipumuitu, one thing is very affordable, very accessible, but at the same time, not everyone will pass by the road, you know. Can they package it?
Yes.
You know, can they add value to it? Maybe they can add some herbs, some spices to it. And apart from that, what else can be added? What else can be added to these potatoes? You know, and I think some of the things that have been put in place is there's a lot of funding to ensure young people are accessing either credit or funding to support that business. Also, when it comes to markets, because not all the time they need to be on the roadside, maybe they need like structures or they need to do it at home. There's funding to support them to get the machines that the machines that are required. Also, when it comes to even buying the potatoes or maybe whatever they really need, they're also getting a lot of funding and support. And also when it comes to marketing, you know, there's a lot of training and capacity on how they can be able to access market. And I'm also happy the county government are really working around to ensure they are market for farmers. And young people, they are being allocated spaces in the marketplaces. Because when you go out there in the marketplaces, which are built by the counties, you find maybe young people, the work they are doing is either carrying luggages, but now because they're involved in the whole value chain, they allocated their own spaces. So I think those are some of the, and lastly is about policies. There are policies that have been put in place to ensure young people are part and parcel of the process, and also they are included, and also the barriers which are preventing them from engaging meaningfully in agriculture value chain, they are supported.
I want to bring you in, and the fact of the matter has been that as we have talked about the transformation of the agriculture sector, the transformation of the food systems, that entire conversation, it would then sort of mean that as we, so to say, transform, modernize, some of these challenges might get carried over into the modern, into the current dispensation, even into the future. What do we have to do to make sure that this doesn't happen?
You see, if we look at it from a sustainable perspective, we will see that we will make it.
Yes.
Like, I'll give you an example. At SACDEP, all our projects, all the, and in fact, we are in 14 counties in the country.
Yes.
And in 41 spots in the country and 2 districts in Tanzania. We, just like with Pelham, we believe in sustainable ecological agriculture. And in sustainable ecological agriculture, we have pillars, principles, and practices of ecological agriculture. Under the pillars, also the principles of ecological agriculture, we have 4 of them, which is economic empowerment, environmental awareness, social justice, and cultural integration. You see, once you have those 4 in place, even in terms of arranging and putting in place projects, you will see that you will get to learn as you are implementing your projects, and also as you are evaluating your projects. To echo what my colleague here is talking about, all the projects that we are talking about have to consider what is working, what isn't working.
Yes.
How can we improve on that? And indeed, that what is not working is a lesson for learning. Like, for instance, let's talk about financial inclusion.
Yes.
You find that most young people, most women and young people, do not get a lot of financial inclusion because, like, for instance, if say we have a coffee plant, it is the father who owns the
number,
coffee bushes.
who's registered, yes.
He's the one who owns the coffee bushes. He's the one who owns the coffee berries.
It is his account.
It is his account, and it is his money. Even if it is the women who will harvest the coffee, it's the women who will take the coffee to the mill, and it is the youth who will take care of the coffee plant at home. So, at what point do we include the youth and the women in parts of in financial inclusion? Let's talk about marketing. The women and the youth are the ones who are going to do a whole bulk of marketing, but it's the father or the man.
Collect.
Exactly. Talk of land ownership.
Yes.
Land ownership is skewed like up to even 85% towards men.
Yes.
At what point do we include the women and the youth? So you'll find that for us to be, as people, especially us in the development world, we have to look at it from a whole holistic point of view. How do we become inclusive and intentional? It all comes from the 4 principles of sustainable ecological agriculture,
yes,
where we include them in financial inclusion,
Yes.
It is environmentally friendly, and most importantly, it is socio-culturally acceptable. We do not go to upset the norms that they go with.
But then how do you get these people to start getting some sort of money in their pocket? Because are you going to tell the men to then take them through behavior change so that some of this cash goes to these people? Are you going to introduce different businesses for them within the similar value chain? For example, women doing veggies rather than tending to coffee 100%. How do you actually get on the ground and start to change, to break the mold, so to say?
Okay. When we are talking about, let me talk about SACDEP specifically.
Yes.
Let's say, for instance, one of our projects. I'll talk about one of our projects I'll talk about one of our projects.
Yes.
It's called Malve project.
Malve.
It is based in Kajiado, and later on I'll talk about College of Sustainable Agriculture for Eastern Africa and how it is bridging the gap. Like, for instance, with Malve, it is mostly to do with livestock. So men are the ones who really own the livestock, but it is the women who milk. So it is the women who do the harvesting.
Yes.
And it is the young men who do the marketing. So in the project design, we have designed it in such a way that each and every one of that gender component is included in income generation, and that you do not upset the cultural norms. When we come to the College of Sustainable Ecological Agriculture, we are looking at how we can graduate at least 100 students, a critical core force of sustainable ecological agriculture practitioners. What these youth are taught in class is about value addition, is about soil fertility, a component that is really disregarded, about soil fertility, about business planning, so that when these young men and women go out into the world, they can be whatever they want to become. You can be a researcher.
Yes.
You can be a farm manager. You can be a teacher yourself.
Yes.
You can go out there to your field and become self-employed back to your home. Therefore, the component of inclusion and the component of financial linkages comes in very, very, very handy. So at the end of the day, it's about taking in place the 4 components of sustainable ecological agriculture and customizing them to each and every project that we do as SACDEP.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to go back to Monica. And the fact of the matter has been that even as you work to empower these people, and they then either go back home and contend with the usual norms that they've had and the economic challenges that they have, they often have to figure out innovative new ways in which to then carve niches for themselves or make a difference. Talk to us about the differences that you've been able to make in some of these places.
Sorry, come up again.
Talk to us about the impact that you've had in some of these places where your programs have been active and you've been able to teach people, and the sort of difference that a person who you've taken through training can then have on the ground.
And thank you for your question. And in Pelham, Kenya, we have a number of projects, and our projects are focused on different thematic areas.
Yes.
Like maybe I can take you back a little bit. So Pelham is a network of a network of member organizations.
Yes.
We are 60 in Kenya, and we are in like 47 counties.
Yes.
And those 60 organizations practice different agroecological practices. And SACDEP is a member of Pelham. And from organic farming to biointensive farming to permaculture design. And their main focus is to ensure like the smallholder farmer is really empowered, is really benefiting from what they are doing, and they are protected, and there's food security.
Yes.
And apart from that, our thematic areas are around capacity building of these networks, and issues to do with policy, agro-market, agro-enterprise and marketing, and gender, youth, and cross-cutting issues, because everyone has to come on board. And some of the projects which have been very impactful.
Yes.
One of them is the one which I'm running right now. It started last year, which I've mentioned, called SAMI. They're promoting sustainable agriculture through youth exchange, where young people from Zimbabwe work with farmers in Kenya to teach them marketing. Like in Kenya, I'm sure you guys have done research. Farmers are super good with sustainable agriculture.
Really?
You know, they will plant, they will have they will really produce a lot of food. But a farmer doesn't have a picture of the market.
Yes.
When they're producing, That's why after producing, after harvesting, we hear a lot of post-harvest loss, waste, and the farmers are like, serikali tatubaia pesa ngapi? You know, or maybe you find a farmer, and this is a sad one, you are buying potatoes, a farmer gives you a cabbage as an addition because they don't know where to take it to. So one of the most successful projects is where these young people be training farmers on marketing and value chain. Marketing on basic things like record keeping, you know, collaborative marketing. You know, like a farmer will have to get a contract, but do they have that capacity? You know, but they can be able to come together. You know, then another one, as we have been encouraging our farmers to use biological chemicals in their farms, which are protecting the soil, the plant, because we don't need to take care of your health, because food is everything. So we'll be training them to use organic farm inputs. They don't need to, they can buy fertilizers, but at the same time they can make their own fertilizers like bokashi, ash bro, and other innovations. And that has really increased the farmer production. And then the last one is where we're encouraging farmers to bring together low value crops and high value crops, where instead of having only cash crops, you know, like sugarcane, which will give you benefit after 2-3 years, and you still need food for your family. You can have a food forest within your family, food for your family, and also this high value product, like sugarcane or like any other product, which can give you money to do other things. So these are some of the projects that I've seen have really worked for Pelham, and where you have asked about how can you ensure farmers have money. I've seen like farmers being able to get money, to get value of what they are doing, and at the same time being able even to see a lot of development. Like maybe a farmer used to just produce food just for, you know, just for family or for personal consumption, but now they have enough food even for selling. Or maybe you might find the farmer was just doing maize and beans, but now they are trying other things.
And again, talk to us about, in everything that you've said, when it comes to the empowerment of women and gender mainstreaming, what then becomes the role of technology? How can it play a role in enabling you attain that objective?
I'm so happy about the topic we are talking today. It's so close to my heart because women contribute a big part in the agriculture, either paint or unpaid work, where they're doing it for the family or they're doing it to get some money. You know, and I remember when I was young, we could go to school and later we have to pass by the farm to do something. And my mother used to work throughout. And I didn't see much of benefit. And one of the principles you are using in Pelham is the access, benefit, and empower. In our project, you have to ensure like women are able to access, we are able to empower them, and there's benefit for them. And what have you asked about mainstreaming and why it's very crucial, very important, is because we really want women to, we really want like, when we talk about empowering women or mainstreaming gender into agriculture, is to ensure the project that you are coming up with, are they speaking to women issues, where women are able to have access and control. Access, for example, women are farming. You know, someone showed this is my farm, but if I want to give her a contract, she has to consult with the spouse, or maybe the spouse can say no. Or maybe if they want to sell their land to go to another place, they can't do that because they don't have control. So why we are mainstreaming is to ensure women have access and they have control over their land. At the same time, maybe they want credit for their land.
How do you do that without doing what she's saying, upsetting the cultural norms or creating conflict?
There are some cultural norms we have to upset. We cannot do without upsetting them. But now we are bringing everyone on board to be able to understand what is the benefit of doing this. Where is the benefit of having men and women, youth, and everyone on board? Because one thing, there will be increase in food security. Number two, there will be increase in family income. Number three, we are contributing to development. Number four is it's a right to everyone to participate. So what we are doing is to bring, before we start our project, and I'm sure Mokiri, you can agree with me, we do something called gender analysis, where we look at the roles of men and women in the society or in this whole agriculture value chain, like the way she was talking about the livestock project. Because there's what men are doing, there's what women are doing, there's what youth are doing. But if we we give women what's supposed to be for men, there'll be conflict. So what we are doing is there's some norms which you have to challenge, because one of the things is and you asked that question about technology and what role it's playing here. Women, there's something we call triple gender role, where women play the productive, reproductive, the community work. Like at home, they're nurturing. They do a lot of unpaid work. They are also in the farms and other places, and also their career, or they're doing other things out there, which men have like only two roles. You see, you find unpaid work really takes a lot of time for women. You know, but now technology, what is coming is really reducing the time. For example, what if you have technology where instead of doing manual work, there's technology for you. You know, about post-harvest, which I've talked about, instead of them using the traditional ways, which are labor intensive, taking a lot of time, we have technology which is preserving this food. You know, what if in terms of technology, when it comes to marketing, instead of them taking their farm produce to the market, which is many kilometers away, what if they can use social media? Or maybe there's how maybe we are supporting them to access that. Yes. So when I come back to the norms, is we love our culture, we appreciate it, and some of the farming practices, they are entrenched into our culture, and you have to preserve them. You know, but at the same time, we have to recognize without doing project blindly. That's why we are coming up with the gender analysis. What's the role of men, what's the role of women, and the young people, and we bring everyone on.
Now, the reason I was asking that question is because I've seen instances where you've had the projects that will come in, they conduct trainings, we see developments, and there's real impact. But then you sort of get the sense that the women are benefiting and the men are getting left behind. Whether it's in terms of, whether it's mental, whether it's economic, whether it's a social impact, because sometimes you have women's groups, but the men are still walking around by themselves. How do you ensure inclusivity so as to ensure sustainability?
That's an interesting one. And maybe that needs to be explored further, because men have existing privileges. To some extent, you'll find like, even though they're in those small groups, how much money are they having? What businesses are they doing? You know, and also I agree with you, some of the projects, true, it might have more benefit on women, and men are left behind. So how we ensure inclusivity is what I've talked about, the gender analysis. You ensure like the project is showing the real picture of how this project will impact men, impact women, and impact maybe children and even the young people, so that we won't have unintended negative consequences of this project. You know, because what if, and that's where like issue of gender-based violence come, where like this lady, she's super empowered, and maybe the men were left behind, or maybe they were not consulted, or they were not aware of the project. So I think it's bringing everyone on board so they can understand the benefit of the project, and also showing them the bigger picture. You know, it's not just about the family, it's how even the family benefits the community, you know, and even the nation, and also the issue of to bring food security.
Okay, I want to bring both back in. When we talk about food sovereignty and being able to move from just the subsistence aspects of food generation to really improving productivity, going into business, such that you then start to say that these families, these people are moving to agriculture as a business. What does it take in terms of the training, in terms of the hands-on working with these people, so that they can then walk this journey sustainably?
Actually, it's not looking at agriculture as a business. It is looking at agriculture as an enterprise, which has so many components, a lot of components. When you look at a business, you know, a business, you start it today, you continue with that business for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden, COVID happens, and you're out. But an enterprise, as an entrepreneur, you are in there to stay, for better or for worse. That is the kind of culture that as SACTEP we are inculcating in our farmers. The way we approach food or farm as an enterprise is that we start with proper stakeholding. And just like you're saying, it is not a question of just putting up a project for the sake of putting up a project. First of all, these projects are funded with donor money. Like in the case of Pelham, even with networks, the contributions from networks. So they would definitely expect that this project has to have proper impact, and impact that is felt. So starting from the process of stakeholding, we are looking at how are we inclusive. And another one is we are intentional about making agriculture an enterprise. In our case, we start with a select group of farmers who are practicing skills, practitioners, where they are the ones who will train the other farmers after they have been trained by our extension officers. So, and the kind of training and the kind of programming that we have is full broad, where we are talking about actually working on the farms. We are also talking about value addition. We are also talking about market access. We are talking about financial literacy, something that has been really not talked about. A large component in all of our projects is a financial inclusion model known as banking without walls, where you do not have to go to a bank. You know, you guys do your own banking.
Table banking.
Yes, at that level. And you can get your loans, you can get your returns at the end of the year, your dividends and all that. So the question of being very, 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 very inclusive and making sure that we are not doing farming for the sake of doing farming is key. I give an example again of the College of Sustainable Agriculture for Eastern Africa.
Yes.
A key component in the training, it's a 2.5-year course, by the way, and the entry point is a D, and at the end of the day, the students will get an internship and an attachment. And one of the key components that we train is business planning and business development. Our students have to do a business plan, and that business plan is examinable. And also, before I forget, our college is accredited by Kenya National Examination Council. So our students will get a certificate from Kenya National Examination Council. And for you to get that certificate, you have to really work for it. So our students will do a business plan, and this business plan will be a farm enterprise, or it will be an offshoot of a farm enterprise. So that way we are assuring that this critical core force that we produce and get to the communities is looking at farming not just as a question of putting food on the table, but also putting money in your pocket and having a remnant for a future rainy day.
Interesting. And that about just brings out for me the sort of challenges that these people would then face once they go out into the world. Because today we are talking about major things like climate change. We've seen the challenges around the economy and that sort of thing. Would this person then be empowered to be able to innovate around handling this sort of challenges? And would that then be something that maybe they can sell to other farmers as a service?
Exactly. They will be quite empowered. When you're talking about climate mitigation, one of the ways in which, as SACDEP in general, the entire organization talks about, is that we cannot have a food secure society without water. So we talk about water harvesting and water conservation. And we are talking about water harvesting and water conservation from a sustainable perspective, where you do not have to have so much X amount of money to harvest and conserve your water. When you have your water, you can do your irrigation. When you're doing irrigation, you are assuring food. You are assuring a harvest. When you assure a harvest, you are assuring a sale. Therefore, you are assuring your future. And when you harvest your water, you're also maintaining climate. You're mitigating against climate change. When you're talking about those young ones, or that critical core force of the young people going out into the field, they are so empowered so that once they go out there, because you see the study modules are such that it is from an entrepreneurship perspective, not just farming. It is farming 101. We are talking about get into the farm and get a value-added product into the market and get a better price for it. So we look at an all-rounded individual who is able to take care of himself or themselves and their future generations.
Interesting. Monica, we essentially are going to a break in about 5 minutes, but I want you to talk about the aspect of extension services, because we've talked about a lot about extension And the fact that this used to be a government function sort of disappeared. But then this is a critical aspect of what we're talking about, because you cannot do this in isolation. You have to work with partners, be it government, be it local communities, and that sort of thing. How is this integrated into everything that we're talking about?
Yeah, capacity. I look at the extension services being part of capacity building, which is very crucial to ensure like farmers, they are really equipped with knowledge, with skills, and also to understand what is happening with the issue of climate mitigation, and also exchange of knowledge here and there. And extension services play a crucial role in agriculture, but like what you have said, this is it's there, but I don't think it's that effective. And also I look at it as one of the barriers for women to participate effectively in agriculture, because either they are not aware where these services are found, are they under the national government, or are they devolved? And number two is, maybe you might find we have only one extension or two extension officers in a county, and you can imagine in a ward, and you can imagine like in a ward we have how many farmers? Can only one extension, two extension officers serve that ward? No. Then also, then the other thing is knowledge, technology, climate change, new issues are coming. So are the extension even officers equipped with these new trends to even support the farmers? So this is that's where like organizations, or like what Pelham we are doing, is to complement the work of extension services, where we are really building the capacity of farmers to really understand, want to preserve the indigenous knowledge. Number two is also to help them like come up with innovative ways of either producing farm inputs, or even how they can increase their productivity. We really support our farmers to do even visits, like they can go to SACTEP to run 1, 2, 3. They can also go to another county or another place. And the other thing is one of the things we are doing as Pelham is the issue of policy, and also the issue of empowering our communities, issues of budget formulation process and social accountability. Because issues of extension services can be integrated in our budget. Farmers, women, youth can demand, or maybe when there's public participation. Gen Z. Yes, this is for everyone. They can request, even not request, they can ask their county to include extension services.
Why isn't it included now in a big way? Why is it such a small thing, yet we see them running around building industrial parks, allegedly doing so many other initiatives, but the capacity building and knowledge creation is moot? I think why that is happening is I think we need to have a bigger picture. We still need the industrial parks, because we can have extension services, farmers are doing well, women are doing well, youth are doing well, but where are they going to sell this product? But at the same time, I feel we need to start from here, where we are really allocating a budget to ensure we have extension services, and also we appreciate the role of extension services to the farmers. You know, sometimes farmers rely on themselves for information. Even they don't know if this person, where they are located, where to find them, what kind of, sometimes, and I came across a farm, I asked her, does she understand the role of an extension service officer or whoever is offering that service? They told me they sell farm inputs. Is that the role of the extension service? No. So I agree with you. We need to really have that service. We need to put more emphasis and focus on that service, and they need to be equipped. We need to have more personnel on the ground. They need to be accessible. And they need to also, we need to also ensure we're integrating gender issues where, for example, I know the government is distributing fertilizer to the farmers, but where do farmers get these fertilizers from? Maybe it's in the county offices, which are in urban center. Will a farmer from Pokot go to where this place is? They need to also ensure there are places where they're accessible, which are safe. And at the same time, though you have talked on issues of gender equality and also some of the barriers which make women shy away, you might find women, because of norms, though I think sometimes you have to upset some norms, but at the same time, we might need to work with some to ensure we are getting the best. Maybe for the distribution of fertilizer, or even for the extension services, we might need to have gender-friendly services. What do I mean by gender-friendly?
there are services where women will feel safe. Women will feel they are listened to. We have a lady or a young person who comes here who does not have the knowledge of fertilizer, they can be able to be taken through. These fertilizers, this way will help you. You know, they're able to ask questions rather than there's no that service or there's no that support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's time for that commercial break. But on the other side, I think we will need to talk about how you then work with men to feel that they're not being attacked, so that we then see that how this then becomes sustainable. Although I know in reality, when you want to make an omelette, sometimes you have to break 1 or 2 eggs. But that is after this short break. We will be back in just a couple of minutes.
Wapwani mpo, Kilifi na Kwale tumewasili. Sasa unaweza burudika na StarTimes DTT kila maeneo ya miji ya Kilifi na Kwale. Wasiliana na customer care kwa nambari 0719 077 077 hivi leo. Upate taarifa zaidi pa kununua DTT StarTimes decoder. StarTimes, enjoy digital life.
My name is Michael. I'm a content creator. Hii jani ya content naweza sema we don't start with numbers. Lazima kwanza uoneshe watu chenye unafanya ndo wapende wakuja wakufollow wakusupport. One of the challenges naweza sema nimeface ni acceptance. Unaanza video, you post and unakuja unapatana sana comments negative kwanza. Na hawa say ni kama wanatakanga give up tu, usiendelee.
The moment is yours. Seize the day. Changamkia your potential with new Nescafe 3-in-1.
Wapwani mpo, Kilifi na Kwale tumewasili. Sasa unaweza burudika na StarTimes DTT kila maeneo ya miji ya Kilifi na Kwale. Wasiliana na customer care kwa nambari 0719 077 077 hivi leo. Upate taarifa zaidi pa kununua DTT StarTimes decoder. StarTimes, enjoy digital life.
Well, indeed, thank you very much for staying with us here on the Farm Kenya show. On this side of the break, of course, our discussion will continue with us here in studio, Ruth Mukiri from the College of Sustainable Agriculture for Eastern Africa, and of course, Monica, who is from Pelham, and they will both be speaking into the topic of the day, which essentially is mainstreaming of gender into agriculture. But before that, we want to get into the Farm of the Day segment, which will be followed by the Farm Guide. So please take a look.
Najua tulikuwa tunategemea wasee, unamtegemea. Ukitaka kiberiti unaomba shilingi 5, ukitaka shumbi unaendea shilingi 20. Lakini saa hii hatuitishi. Huwa tunanunua, unauza mayai, unanunua. Ukitaka kuwa na hii jiko shape coupe, tunaitanga shape coupe. Unakuanga na mlangeti, mawe ya mburoko 5, unakuwa na bito, hii mabito mabiti, alafu unakuwa na shagalawe, wheelbarrow 2.
Calvo has recently released a new indigenous chicken in response to the social and cultural beliefs of communities living in the western regions of Kenya, named KC3. The breed, which has a plumage color, appeals to the market demand, unlike its predecessors, the KC1, which has black and white spots, and the KC2, that is black. Dr. Joshua Chepching from the State Department of Livestock noted that production of day-old chicks stands at 600,000 compared to a national demand of over 2 million chicks per year. The KC1 and KC2 breed lines were released back in 2019 through genetic upgrading and crossbreeding of local chickens to improve on economically important traits. The major difference with the new KC3 line is the color, and Washira, a senior research scientist at Calro, explains why they developed the new breed.
When people from Western and other areas, even in Eastern, started complaining that the black chicken was not that appealing to their eyes and they wanted the plumage changed. So we decided, let's develop a chicken for the Western people so that it can be very appealing, kwa sababu watu wanasema unakula kwa macho.
It could just be familiarity. You know, when you're not used to something, sometimes you tend to fear. But I don't think I have any myth about it. But what I know, the black chicken, it used to be given to people who have brought in a dead body.
The tradition.
Yeah, the tradition. So they give that chicken, you go with it.
Brown wajua ni kala ile ambayo inapendeza macho kwanza, na tena hata nyama yake iko tofauti kidogo na ile ingine. Iko tamu.
Farmers in the region had to wait 3 to 4 months to receive their orders of day-old chicks, some traveling as far as Calro, Naivasha in search of the products.
They just need to do more, create more awareness in the community. Yeah, because you know, like when we pass along the road, we just know they plant maize. So you wouldn't really know what else is inside until you come in. So maybe this they need to create more awareness, tell people what they have. Like this chicken, we've been getting them from Naivasha.
This is expected to change following the launch of a 2,000 bird capacity breeding and multiplication house at Calro, Kakamega, marked with pomp and color. The construction was completed through the European Union and World Bank support under the Agrify Climate Smart project.
And this poultry house is going to improve the capacity of Kakamega, Karo Kakamega, to undertake research in various poultry limiting areas of limiting production, for example, diseases, for example, growth rate and so on, and also be able to reach out to the demand that is available for poultry products in this region.
And increase availability of all the chicks to farmers in Western Kenya, North and Central Rift, Nyanza and Kisii counties, where the demand for white meat is on the increase. Together with the new 90,000 egg capacity hatchery, these facilities will supply 34,000 day-old chicks per month.
Despite accounting for more than 2/3 of the chicken population, the productivity of indigenous breeds is constrained by the high feed costs, which may be of poor quality, diseases, and poor management practices. Calro has maintained a robust chicken meant to enhance sustainable production, a highly developed multiplication and dissemination infrastructure, and established conservation and husbandry support programs. For KTN Farmers TV, I'm Paul Thiongo.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Off that segment, let's get back into the interview here on KTN Farmers. Now, a good place to start would be the point where we left off talking about extension services, and we want to get into that briefly and talk about why this is no longer the case and the effect that this then has had in terms of gender on the agriculture sector. And I want to bring in Ruth with this, the sort of thing that the women have really borne the brunt of this diminishing of extension services. Why do you think this is the case, and what can then be done to reverse this trend?
It's quite unfortunate that we do not have as much extension services as it used to be there, like way back in the 80s. Mostly because agriculture was defunded to take care of an ever-increasing population that needed housing, and an increasing population that needed more roads. And so when you're putting both under the scale, you're like, okay, let us defund a little of agriculture and increase funds on housing, for instance. But that comes with at a big cost, because at the end of the day, you will find that we still have to eat.
Yes.
Those people who are living in high rises have to eat. We lack the balance. Another question, or another thing that has greatly contributed to diminishing levels of extensionists is the way agriculture had been looked at back in the day. We are seeing a lot of paradigm shift now. Back in the day, agriculture was looked at as a punishment. I mean, Wakafa, you know, when you were in high school and you were caught as a noisemaker in class, the teacher on duty would tell you, you see that plot of land over there that has overgrown grass, take a jembe and ulime hapo. So why would you like agriculture?
Well, you're told to go and clean cows or pigs.
When you're told to go and clean a pigsty, why would you look at agriculture as something that is fun? Look at civil servants who are being retiring. Like when the Bretton Woods Institution in the 90s dictated to the country that we have to downsize our civil
golden
service.
handshake era.
Yes, the golden handshake. What were they being given to go home with, those civil servants? You can't believe it. They're being given a wheelbarrow, a shovel, and what else was it? And what do you call this? A djembe. Yes. And I told you know what? Thank you very much for your service. Now you can go home and farm. And these civil servants had been used to living in the cities most of their lives. So now, you see, now when they're being taken back home,
most did not even survive.
No, they didn't. In fact, a study that was taken back in the day, like in the 90s, it discovered that even up to 90% of the men who went home during that golden handshake, they didn't live more than 10 years. So why would we then encourage, or why would then our fathers encourage us to go and be farmers, where farming is a form of punishment? So coupled with defunding of agriculture and looking at agriculture as a punishment. And even in our homes, we would rather have sat and watched MTV instead of going to milk the cows. I mean, when my mother used to tell me to go and milk the cows, it used to look like a huge punishment.
So how then do you ensure that there is a change going forward, essentially, especially when you think about the fact that agriculture can be something that gives you so much of a return today. It can be empowering. How do you then ensure that women are able to get into this space, especially younger women, and find it a safe space, a space where they can make money, a space where they can make a sustainable livelihood?
The onus is on us in the development world and in government. We have to form partnerships because agriculture is and always will be the biggest employer in the whole world. Out of how many millions are we in Kenya now? Like 40 or thereabouts?
50.
Or thereabouts, 50. 50, isn't it?
Yes.
We have to eat. If we are depending on our parents who are in their 60s and 70s, and us who are now in our 40s and thereabouts, and we do not farm, are our kids, the Gen Z, are they going to farm? Who's going to feed us? That's why we will always keep on having an export bill that is so high. Because we keep on bringing in foodstuffs from our neighboring countries. So we have to take a really big paradigm shift as development agencies and as a government, form a partnership to change the way we look at things. And I'll tell you from the perspective of SACDEP, putting a vision and a mission to graduate at least 100 graduates of sustainable ecological agriculture practitioners is very intentional. And most of this, like for instance, right now, out of, at the moment we have 115 students in campus, and most of them are from dryland areas. Which is the best frontier to go if it is not dryland areas? Kenya in itself is 70% ASAL. So we need to know how we can produce food. And you see, food doesn't have to be the one that you go and plant. It is also talking about livestock. We're also talking about livestock such as bees. We're also talking about livestock as cows. We change the paradigm shift of these young people. We tell them agriculture is your employer, agriculture is your future. There is no way you are going to have a guaranteed future if you do not have food. At the end of the day, if you don't have food, what is the point of having the money?
You don't have anything.
Exactly. So that is what we are looking at, specifically as SACDEP, and also in partnership with networks such as PELAM. We have specific and intentional bias towards empowering or mainstreaming gender. And you cannot talk about gender without talking about men. Because if you do not include men in the equation, then we are going to upset
disaster.
Exactly. We are going to upset the societal norms, the ones that we do not want to upset.
I want to come back to you, Monica, and the question I want to take you back to is to do with technology, especially from the point of view that over the past few years we've seen the introduction of innovations like M-Pesa, for example, mobile banking, things that have transformed the lives of women, giving them financial freedom, access to information, access to their own bank accounts, which before was something that you'd never heard of. We used to have the entire coffee sector where people would be paid in checks written in the names of men, where they'd be delivered by hand and then cashed in a local shop, which would then take some of the money, and then this man might disappear for 2 months and that sort of thing. But today we can deliver payments to women directly to their pockets through their mobile phones and things like that. What sort of difference is this able to make?
Technology is one of the ways which has really empowered women, especially where technology is helping women reduce the time they use in their farms or doing other things. They're able to save a lot of time to be able to do other things and to engage in meaningful farming production. And technology doesn't need to be super advanced, though I agree. Even now we are moving to artificial intelligence. I won't talk about that right now. Let me just start with the basic technology of the machineries and also preserving food, preserving seeds, and also when it comes to marketing, how are they accessing the markets? Because now, if you remain the traditional ways, honestly, you will lose out there, and people are already making money. So there's so many innovations which have come up, especially there are apps, where you can market your product, you can learn more about farm input, you can do so much. And the other thing about technology, though I understand there's a digital divide or a digital gap, women still, they are not here. They are not very tech savvy, and also, so we really need also to build their capacity on that.
Younger women tend to be completely tech savvy, just natives, just like the other men.
Yes, that one I agree. Actually, yes, not younger women, but how many younger women are in agriculture? Though you are saying you're bringing everyone on board.
Yes.
Yes, and also to connect technology and what Udo was talking about, the extension services. I think now when you're talking about late millennials and Gen Zs, maybe we might not need like extension officers just coming to our farms. Those to some extent they might need, because we're not farming in the sky. We are farming in physical land, and maybe those who are doing like hydroponics, also there's a physical space for that. So I love this idea of do it yourself. Like you can go to YouTube, there's so much content. And also for the extension officers or the ones who are doing that work, even farmers themselves, I can challenge them. Create content. There are people who are doing farming from the knowledge that they are learning from social media, or even media houses, like what you're doing with this program.
Yes.
Young people, women are getting a lot of information, and they're able to use it, and also they're able to engage you one-on-one. You know, instead of like waiting for the extension officer to come, even invite them here on studio. They'll be engaged, they'll be asked questions. We'll know where are they, where can we find them. Yes.
I want to finish off on a sort of a controversial note. We have just about 5 minutes, so 2 minutes for each person. And my question is simple. Over the last 100 years, we've seen technology and growth, changes in the environment which empower women, from where I sit, such that women have then been, so to say, trained and empowered for the 21st century, while men don't seem to have benefited so much, which then makes me wonder why we still have challenges around having to mainstream women into the modern economy. Simple example, if you think about the roles that men used to play, things like security. Now we have policemen. When you think about men as providers, women can now work. They can now make their own money, that sort of thing. When you think about women and the roles they used to play, homemakers, we have cooking machines, washing machines, we have jikos, we have knives, we have all sorts of things which empower them. Why is it that we then still have this challenge that we keep talking about? Why do you think that's the case?
Thank you for your question.
Yes.
We are not yet there, though we are heading there.
Yes.
One thing I have to acknowledge, I've made strides in terms of gender empowerment, and one of the ways of achieving that is through gender mainstreaming. If I can take you back, in I think in early 20th century, when the issue of feminism started, where the issue was women needed a right to vote.
Yes.
Maybe the second feminism phase, they wanted to have a right to work and to earn as men. Then late 90s, where we started like now seeing like women are not homogeneous. Like Ruth and I are not homogeneous. Like the way we can have rural women, but they're not the same. They have different age, experiences, you know, their level of access and control is different. You know, and that's why this is a bit academic, but I can take you back. We started talking about women in development. But in late 90s, early 2000s, we started talking about gender and development. Why? Because it cannot be a women affair. We have to bring the gender aspect. When gender is men, women, boys, and girls who have different experiences, priorities, needs. Yes. And also in terms of policy work and programming. And also when you look at even international group, we had the SDGs. But when did the SDGs not achieve gender equality? We had the MDGs, then we came to SDGs. SDG number 5, we talked about gender equality. Why do we have it now? You know, and also even the policies we have around gender. And so much has been done in terms of gender, but we are not yet there. So I'm appreciating there's impact. We have seen a lot of changes. We are not where we used to be. So what is remaining, like when you look at gender empowerment, we talk about practical needs and strategic needs. What is happening now, we need to empower women more on strategic. That's why we are talking about transformative gender approaches. Women are no longer, how can I put it? Okay, they can, they are participating.
Briefly,
okay, women are participating, but is it effective? Like, for example, the way we are here with Ruth. But are we participating effectively? Our voices heard, our voices amplified, you know. So I think we have made progress, but we are not yet there. There's still a lot to be done.
Okay. Same question.
Yes.
Ruth.
But I'll echo what my colleague is talking about. And I also edit on quite a controversial note as well. Put a spanner in the works. In the 1900s, we started with the suffragette movement, where we were talking about voting rights.
Yes.
We were talking about in the 1970s, like in the US, there was this very big thing called ERA, Equal Rights Amendment Act, where it was advocating for equal pay, for equal work. And in fact, it still continues.
Yes.
I may not want to delve into it too much, but
there's still a challenge there in equity. In
equal pay for equal work. The Pepsi CEO, I don't remember her name quite well. Maybe it is Indra or something. She was talking about how she has worked so hard to bring Pepsi to where it is, and her male colleague, who was Coca-Cola CEO, the divide in their pay was too much.
Yes.
Right now, we are talking about gender balance, gender equity, and gender equality. So it is not a question of sidelining men. It is a question of women playing catch-up. Women are the ones who are always trying to catch up. Now, that is where we bring the challenge. Because as we catch up, then for the men, they will, most of the men,
they have
or some
not been
of the
standing
men,
still.
Yes, they've been moving. And some of them will be of the opinion, you know what, maybe we need to slow down so that these women can catch up with us. While others will be like, no, these women are coming too much, you know, so what is the challenge? And that is where we are talking about mainstreaming in gender, is including each and every one of us.
Yes.
And talking about equity and equality. It is tough, but it can work. Yes.
Okay, it is tough, but it can work. Thank you both very, very much for taking the time to talk to us here on Farm Kenya. Both, of course, Ruth and Monica. It has been a very insightful conversation and something that we hope to take forward further, because as you said, this is an exercise that has to keep going on, working into mainstreaming gender into agricultural transformation. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much for having us.
So on that note is where we want to bring it to a close here today on the Farm Kenya show. Of course, this edition having been delving into the issue of gender mainstreaming into the agricultural sector. We'll see you again next week for much more insightful conversation here on the Farm Kenya show. And of course, tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, make a date, 2:30. The show, of course, will be here. But for now, do continue to enjoy the rest of your viewing from us here in studio. My name is Peter Wakaba. Kwaheri ya kuonana.
Kuwa mkono ambao unalima ardhi, mlango wa mkulima, kuwa mshindi, kuwa na uhakika sasa, kuulea mustakabali wa baadaye. Tufanye kazi pamoja na tukue pamoja, kuimarisha Kenya ni jukumu.